course, is the Cortina, now available in 35 different versions. The weight of the new body is offset by more powerful engines, and there's much more room inside. Cortina. The Cortina estate reflects the growing swing to estate cars. It's an upmarket version with superior trim and finish, including tinted glass, and a separate wash and wipe system for the big rear window. Cortinas are still among the most popular British cars on the road.
Now the American-owned side of our motor industry is starting with the most successful Ford and their Cortina of 18 varieties, the most popular British car choice, and now with new improvements to ride, handling and interior features, while there's a new single overhead cam 1600 engine. One additional model too, the 2000 Executive with a 2-litre overhead cam engine, as well as the seemingly inevitable vinyl roof covering, while on this one they include your radio.
Since 1962, there have been some very special Cortinas. But none as special as this. The Great Crusader. Impressive livery, sumptuous interior, and impeccable pedigree make this car, from only £5,160, the ultimate special edition Cortina. See it, and see the legend live on in the Great Crusader.
Ready? Well, here we are with Shelley, these beautiful, stunning 2000D, which I absolutely love, even though obviously she still needs lots of work.
Yes,
So,
she does, yeah.
When did you buy it now? How long ago was it?
I bought her from memory. Okay, I was in work, and I'd always had a fascination with Cortinas. When I was 6 years old, on our council estate, there'd been a car crash locally, and the next day a Mark II Cortina bashed up turns up in the car park where we all used to play, and it stayed there for, there's two of them actually, one was better than the other, stayed there for a few weeks, and then eventually the kids started to kind of mosey around and have a look inside it, and we thought, oh, we better go and speak to the owner. So we went to chat to the owner. His name was Phil. And we said, "Oh, can we play in that car, that crashed car?" And he said, "Yeah, it's open. Just go ahead and do it." So we played in this car. There was about 3 or 4 kids, and from that moment, I said, Even back then, I said, "Let's try and do it up." You know, I thought, "Oh, we can get some tools. You know, we can just get it back on the road." Stupid, harebrained idea as a 6-year-old. Anyway, I also like the Mark I because of the back kind of lights.
band the rear.
I'm not in the
band
green
the
part
bomb
or anything,
thing.
but the Greenpeace logo light looks really cool.
Yeah.
And then kind of forgot about Cortina. In the 80s, my uncle had a Mark V, and I remember doing 100 miles an hour on the M4 when we used to go between Twickenham and Aberystwyth. This is where my cousins lived. And go on, Uncle Jim, get up to 100, and it could easily get up to 100 on the M4. So, roll forward another, 15 years. And I was in the office one day, a colleague comes in, do you mind printing this out? Because I used to look after the printers in the office and things. Yeah, what is it? Oh, it's an advert for a Ford Cortina Mark III. Ford Cortina? Oh, I remember them. Anyway, so we had this picture of it and stuff, and he goes, so I got the old Adobe PageMaker out, and I designed him a little advert to sell the thing for his father-in-law it was. So anyway, after about 2 minutes, I'm thinking, I think I could, is there any chance I could have a look at this car? Because, I wasn't into it. I'm not an engineer, don't know a huge amount about cars, but I had, I don't know what I had at the time, probably a Mark 1 Polo, I think I had. Yeah, it must have been 2001 it would have been, or something like that. So that's the year that I made inquiries, went to see it. It was in the barn. There was a couple of bits of rust on the back sill and the front of the front wings, and the bonnet was starting to go, but nothing drastic. It's still in MOT. I can't remember why the gentleman that ran it was selling it, but he was selling it through this guy's father-in-law, who never owned it, but was just doing this guy a favour, I think, did all the paperwork and everything. So yeah, by early 2002, I decided to go for it, and it cost me £650.
Oh, yeah, good price then.
Yeah. So that was that, and when I got it, I was thinking, oh God, what do I need this car? I don't need two cars. It was drivable. It was still on the road, so I didn't use it much. I did use it for the odd errand here and there, and everywhere I went with it, well, I exaggerate a little bit, but more often than not, I'd have somebody say, "Oh man, he's selling it." I'd go to the supermarket, come out, there'd be a little piece of paper under the windscreen wiper. Here's my number if you want to sell this car. So winter was coming. Winter 02, I think, and I put my name down for a council garage, thinking I need to get it indoors because where I lived didn't have it was on the street. Later, the waiting list went on and on and on, so it wintered outside for 1 year. There was a little tear in the back of the vinyl roof, tiny little tear. By the end of that winter, it was a bigger tear. Birds had got into it, and unfortunately, it lasted a whole another summer and into the winter of 03, and I still was waiting. I should have made more effort to get a garage, but they were stringing me along a bit, but eventually I did get it into a garage, and I guess it was a bit sad really, but by then life got in the way. So it went into that garage in early 2004 maybe, and it didn't come out till 2016 maybe, when I got kicked out of that garage because they were knocking them down, and they rehoused it. So all it did, we towed it out to a different one.
Oh, right.
And it lived even closer to the sea then for another till knockdown till 2020 is when I had the time to think, come on, let's get it going. Because I was in a pub with a mate, and he said, just sell it to me. He goes, because he was into his Mark II Escorts and not so much Cortinas, but he's like, oh God, just sell it to me. You're never going to do it. You're never going to do it. Just admit it now. You're never going to do it. And something in my head just said, I am going to bloody do it. And a few months later, I got it out, and I got it back to this where it is now, into my house, onto my drive originally, and then I got it through a little gap in the fence over to this garage, which I've already had, but I've modified it to the entrance to allow a car shell to be brought into it. So that's the story. That's the history of this car. I've got some service history from the previous owner, most of which was from like 99 till 2001. A lot of work done on it. It had the new camshaft and bit of work on the engine. New gaskets and lots of the usual things. So it was a working car. Looks like up until sometime in 2001. It was, So there we go.
So would it, is the 2000D the one that you would have gone for if you'd have had your personal choice back in the day if you were going to pick a Mark III, or it's...
I guess out of all the Cortinas, it was my least known about one. I loved it because I remember in primary school Mrs. Kidner had one, and we went to get a Christmas tree when I was about 5 or 6. Again, around about the time when I found that Mark II, about the same time, and it was a navy blue 1.3L, I think. It was a fairly basic model, and chucked us half the class chucked in the back seat, went up into the forest, and we got a Christmas tree and probably put it in with us to get back to the little primary school I was in at the time. So I knew about Mark IIIs, but I wasn't a passionate Mark III super fan,
enthusiast or anything. Yeah,
I think whatever Cortina would have been shoved under my nose back at that time,
you'd have gone, yes,
I'd have said,
it.
I'll have it.
Yeah.
But then as time's gone on, and I've met people, yourself from what you started the Mark III Owners Register in 1990, yeah, and now there's the Owners Club, which is the modern incarnation, I guess, of what you started. And knowing all those people and just, I just love it now. I mean, speaking to the passionate people that are out there. I mean, I don't feel I'm worthy yet of going to shows because I haven't got a car to go, but I have been to the NEC a couple of times, and I've met, the current Owners Club people and Pete C and people like that, and Mark, I forget his surname now, Mark Crayford Cortina and a few others. And they've all been so helpful. And I've travelled to all corners of the UK to buy parts off other people, and everyone's been very helpful. Simone she's got the estate TC, and she and all lovely people, and I kind of feel like a fringe part of that group now, and hopefully one day I'll be able to drive along and meet up with whoever's going around at that time with Mark III Cortina. So definitely. If you say to me now, what's your favourite Cortina? It's a Mark III, absolutely Mark III.
It's grown on you since you've had it then a lot.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Since I got it in 2002, whatever it was, I've been, the Mark III man. But I still look fondly at other ones. I think probably the least one now, Mark IIs. I think they're pretty boxy, aren't they? I'm not so much of a fan of the Mark II shape. This is the best shape, isn't it? It's just...
Well, yeah, I think it is. It's very American, and if you scaled her up a little bit, you wouldn't look out of place driving through Miami or streets of San Francisco, or it's got the American look.
Yeah, especially the back quarter panel there, isn't it, with the curve on it, which comes into the door, the rear door, if you've got a 4-door, and not quite sure how it works with the 2-door, but it does, doesn't it? It's the same shape.
You've got the big rear wing. Yeah.
But it's what it has also meant is it's made me a kind of home mechanic now, or home car restorer, learning so many different things from scratch. A lot of it, well, all of it from scratch for me. So I don't know if I know my limits or not. I've been able to do most things, some good, some things well, some things not so well. But then many conversations with you especially about paint, primers and rust, and just like I say. And then YouTube is fantastic. You can, I'm grinding metal now, and I've got welders and sandblasters, and I never thought I'd be doing any of this. I was always a sporty person. I was out running and cycling and things, and now I'm enjoying this just as much, if not more.
You learn as you go along and improve as you go along. It's all part of the fun and the process, and you can sort of stand back and think, wow, that's done, and you've done it, and it's good,
It's still pretty much a shell.
We all make mistakes,
bits of metal ripped off it at the moment as I'm gradually, fabricating. Bits you can't buy, you have to make yourself. It's fun. Yeah, it's great. I just hope that the day that I get out on the road and turn left out of the drive, I don't get T-boned.
Everybody's nightmare that would be, wouldn't it? Yeah, and then it'd be, back in the garage and start again. But,
I guess, it would never be as bad as it once was, even with a broken front wing or something.
I'm still very impressed, even I remember going back to your very first videos of thinking, for her age, a lot of Mark IIIs have gone rusty in places this one hadn't. So I think, you know, she has been looked after very well by previous owners, and obviously you've stored it, you know, and kept it. She needs work, but I've seen ones way, way, way worse, and in places where this one isn't. So I think you got a good one that you managed to find. I was very impressed with that.
I mean, yeah, if anyone wants a quick, you know, basically appraisal of this shell, the roof is good. The floor pan had hardly anything wrong with it.
Floor pan's really good.
Boot floor had a couple of
Tiny
problems
bit
with
in the well.
wheels,
Yeah.
tub well. So top and bottom good. These panels, no problem at all, give or take. Same on the other side.
Yeah.
It's the sides that have taken it, so the scuttles, which always go.
Yeah, always go in the
but
corners.
really badly here, so it's even taken a bit of this with it. Same on the other side. Rear quarters, both valances, inner and outer, gone. Wheel tub, inner outer wheel tub's gone. Inner's fine. That side's better. So it's the sides with the door's absolutely pristine.
Yeah.
How have the doors
Wow.
survived? The door
Door
wells?
bottoms.
Door
Yeah,
bottoms.
the bottoms of the
No
doors.
problem at all.
Yeah, because they normally go on those and on the corners and.
The boot was fine. The boot's in it, and the bonnet wasn't. So this side of the car is worse than that side, and that must be to do with where it was parked you know, facing the sea or whatever back in the day. But yeah, you mentioned earlier about the fact that the metallic Cortinas had lacquer over the bodywork,
the actual
over the
paintwork.
top coat, which seems to save
I think
them.
it saves them a lot more because you see quite a lot of the tawny ones and various other metallics that's still around and surviving.
Yeah, true.
So obviously the lacquer would make it, you know, more waterproof, and whereas the old cellulose of 3 paint coats, I think they're more vulnerable to the corrosion.
Yeah,
Back in the day.
I think so. I mean, due to the nature of the access to this house and this garden, most work's going to have. It's only going to get out of here once. This shell or this car even. So, I'm hoping that everything can be done in here, which will mean this room has to turn from being a sandblasting unit
And workshop.
to be completely sterilised at some point.
Yeah.
And you know, screen all over it.
Yeah, put some
What do you call it? Sterile environment.
Yeah, like Visqueen up or something to keep it clean and
Into a paint shop.
yeah.
It's just about big enough to do that, so I think that's probably the plan. Whether that'll be me painting it, I don't know, or get someone in to do it. But it's a labour of love, isn't it? It's costs, well, maybe not quite as much as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, mine has come to a ridiculous amount, to be fair, so far. I mean, way more than I expected, you know. When I first started my car, I thought, I had a word with Gary and he said, when do you want it done by? I said, well, it'd be nice by its 40th birthday. When's that? 4 years' time. Oh, that's okay. And I was thinking, I've got lots of panels, got lots of the parts. Realistically, maybe I'll have to spend about $10,000-12,000 on it, that's it. And then it just snowballed from there because it was like, how good do you want it? And I went, well, as good as we can get it. And then he was like, do you want to make it concourse? And I went, yeah. Have you got all the parts? Mostly. And then obviously I spent a year looking for a bulkhead and I spent a year looking for other bits. And it sort of dragged on. And some bits were horrendously expensive and some bits weren't because I'd had them in stock for years. So it balanced out. But
My bulkhead's good as well.
yeah, you got an amazing... I can't believe how good that bulkhead is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
not gone anywhere, you know, on the floor pan. And
Yeah.
I'm just trying to big it up, you know. There's some horrendous parts as well, but generally it's a savable car, isn't it?
Yeah,
Crossmember's
she's
gone.
very,
front
very, very good for, you know, when you consider the age. Yes, she has issues, but like I say, I've seen so many where it's like, you look at mine, sitting there for 12 years on damp ground in the open, exposed to elements, she just rotted everywhere, and it was just so much work, you know. And I looked at yours and thought, oh, I wish mine was this, you know, this good, this bad in that way, but this good in you know, the point of view of that's all she needs. Yeah,
You mentioned
it's a
finding
lot.
the
but-
bulkhead earlier.
Yeah.
And that's another side, isn't it? Is the hunt for stuff.
The hunt for
which
things.
a lot
yeah.
of collectors in various, you know, hobbies, you know, especially, I guess, memorabilia, stuff that's very rare. People look on eBay and all sorts of other places, auctions, and they eventually find their prize thing. I was not lucky enough to find a lower scuttle panel like you did, but
They are stupidly rare because they only come attached to the bulkheads. So
yeah, but I mean, they're out there,
and I
aren't
don't
they?
know
So
why.
I
But
probably would find them. I mean, I'm looking for you know the name of it, the textile for the seats, the upholstery.
the Savannah.
Ford Savannah textile, which is absolutely brick walls everywhere. I've not found any. Everyone just has no chance.
Yeah.
Then you mentioned there's a company in America that could recreate
Meet
it.
So
Things like that is
Yeah.
what interests me, as well as the kind
This
of
is it, it's all the
grinding and welding.
tracking down things. Yeah.
Tracking down things, which is expensive, but
Yeah.
it's nice that you meet these people that you never normally meet otherwise. I mean, one of the first things I did this back to front. The first thing I did on this car was I changed the light in the roof lining.
Yeah.
First, when I got it back here, I thought, right, I've got to start somewhere. Oh, that doesn't work, so let's get it out. And I ended up kind of chatting to some guy on eBay about them, and turns out the one that was in there was had an Austin logo on it.
Oh,
so
right.
that had obviously been changed in the past.
Yeah.
So then you start working, trying to work out how on earth was that possible. Well, it turned out at some point the Austin lamp was exactly the same, or seemed to be as ours was.
Same fitting. So yeah.
So then I discovered there was no glove box inner.
Ah.
You do the latch and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So that had been stolen at some point when it was in storage. So what do? Go on eBay, and I found the lamp doesn't work inside the glove box. So I buy one, I do a bit of wiring, and I get it to work. First time I've ever done, I barely wire a plug, but when that little lamp came on in that glove box, it's like I'd won the lottery. And I was like,
Fixed it.
Never mind all the rust and everything. I start with the kind of easy things.
Yeah.
Did a bit of stuff like that as I was stripping it off. Restored the fuel tank and the sump, and a lot of it's been done away from the car. The seat upholstery, I think, is going to be an expensive one, isn't it?
Although, as I say, looking at it, it is very, very good. Again, for the age of the car, and when you consider people have been sitting on it in and out of vehicles, etc.
I need like this much.
And it's not
Savannah
perfect. Yeah,
just to go on the
top
top
edge.
where the parcel shelf was, the top of the back seat, which is what was destroyed by the sun. The rest of it's fine. Yeah, and getting the right colour beige interior trim parts, like your centre console and which I think I've got 4 centre consoles in the attic, and none of them are quite as light enough beige as they should be compared to the handbrake gator.
Yeah.
But again, it's the fun of looking on eBay every couple of nights and just seeing what's there. And, there's a lot of
Places
marquees.
like Beauty Auto Jumble, the big shows where they have
out.
things.
Yeah, I need to physically
It's
get
just
out there.
looking around. Even if you've got something that initially doesn't match and you use that, you can always keep looking and then find it. And it's a quick, simple. If it's an internal part like that, it's an easy, replacement.
And you can have some disappointments as well on when you're buying. I remember seeing a carpet which matched my carpet, which is the kind of shag pile executive.
Yeah, cut pile 2000E. Yeah.
And mine isn't too bad. It's got a bit missing, like a 10p piece worth, which I thought was a stain. But it turned out it's because there was nothing there. It's just kind of a black spot in it. The rest of it's fine, dirty. I steam cleaned it to within an inch of its life, thinking that it's probably not going to go back in, but let's get it as good as I can. And I saw this one come from eBay, and sometimes you just miss a day because you're otherwise engaged, and the reminder doesn't work on your phone or something like that, and I missed it, and it went for, there's only one bidder, and I hadn't bid, I was waiting. So I contacted the seller, I pretty much begging him. I was like, oh man, I've got to have this carpet, and he was sorry, it's gone to this other guy. Keep looking, it was his, and I was like, oh man, I needed that carpet because quite rare, It's one that but mine ain't too bad. Mine's okay, so I'm not gutted, but I am gutted. I got a good news story as well for you. I found a spot welder because I'm getting to the point now where the sills are going to go back in soon, and I want to do it at the factory. And
be nice.
I've seen these spot welders, and I think I can probably spot weld if I.
It's not that difficult. I mean, I'd never done it before until Gary showed me on mine. It was very.
I have to get in the gym.
I couldn't believe how heavy it was. He's got this great big sort of tube that comes with it with all the cabling in, and then the actual gadget itself. I was like, oh my god. And I put, I remember him doing round the arch and the tub, and he said, "Yeah, you can put some in there, and just put it in to squeeze, and it's done." So it's nice and easy,
Yeah.
but it's just getting used to the weight and the angle of it. But it goes behind it, just.
Is that the arch to the outer tub? Is it that
Yeah,
joint?
yeah, the
Okay.
sort of like, in a tub on the outer arch bit there, so it's like going all the way round.
Well, I bid on eBay for second-hand Clark's one recently, and I won it, and it was a good price. It's still a fair amount, but compared to the new, it was significantly cheaper. So I picked it up, and the gentleman was kosher, no problem, and I got it back here, and I didn't have time to kind of wire it up for a while. I wired it up the other night, nothing, dead. There's a dodo. Clark's use Machine Mart as their UK agent for servicing, so I had to take it in, which is a bit of a drive. Plonked it down, 24 quid for the initial inspection, but it has to go off to be inspected properly. So this was last week. This week, I just thought, I haven't heard anything off them. Yeah, better scramble the paperwork and see if they've actually got my contact details. Anyway, I had a phone call today, and it was, it's Machine Mart here in Nottingham. Just got your spot welder with us. Just had a look at it, and I was waiting for the bad news. Oh yeah, there's a problem with the handle. It's something not a big issue. It's going to cost £60 to repair. If you're okay with that, we'll get on with the job. And I was like, oh, yes, please.
That was good news.
So that was very good news today. So I've had some bad news recently with the dent in the roof that's come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But that was, you get good days and bad days, don't you? Yeah. So. Yeah.
I think he wouldn't even done it if the cat had been on there and jumped down, because she doesn't weigh that much. He shouldn't have put that kind of a dent in it. I was thinking that was another option. But
one theory is it was on the spit for so long on its side that it's started to affect the roof. I
can't see that happening either.
It still had its cells at the time, and I think it's something's fallen, but it's annoying. But I think I'll get the old, what do you call it, the panel beating stuff out and give it a whirl.
It should pop, because I know it's
or
quite
a sucker,
beast,
maybe a sucker.
Yeah, be able to lift it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's not going to be.
It's a vinyl roof one,
Yeah,
so that's going to
be
cover
covered.
any.
So if you've got a tiny,
Yeah.
it's not going to be horrendous.
No.
You're lucky with that.
You need not to think about the overall picture, do you? Because you just got to concentrate on your little.
Do your things, and then get to that when you get to the roof stage of.
Otherwise, you can't sleep at night. You'll
be thinking about it all the time. Yeah.
So is there a timeline? There's no timeline on this, apart from loosely my daughter is 11 and she goes up to big school in September. It's May now. Yeah. And then for her prom, which will be in 5 years' time. I'd like to take her to her prom in that. We never had proms in our era, did we? So
no, we didn't.
American thing. And it'd be nice to have it ready. That's my timeline. Have you got a timeline now for yours?
Yeah. Funnily enough, some of them in work have been asking me this. It basically at the moment with me, it's money. It's putting in the hours and saving up the cash to put towards the car. Honestly, I don't know when mine's going to be done. It was on the cards to start maybe the end of summer, but because I've had to spend out £8,500 just over on a bill that I wasn't expecting, out of my 13 that I'd saved, I'm kind of quite a way behind again now. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think the beauty of doing it over a long period of time is that the money is dissipated over that period, and you don't notice it leaving as much as you would if you were doing it in a 2 or 3 year, and then
it's big
all
chunk.
that money in that period is almost your regular working man like us wouldn't be able to do that. So yes, I mean I just of a month some of my disposable income will go on the car, which that's my hobby, and that's how it should be for people, isn't it? You just I've got a spare bit of money this month. I'll buy another one of these.
There's
whatever
add
you
to
need
it.
at the time, and you don't notice it as bad then. But I guess there will be some big bills to come when you've got to buy the paint for the full spray, and you've got your engine reconditioned to pay for. And things that we can't do to the same standard as a professional can. That you just have to get done, don't you? I mean,
there's certain things like getting the axle sent off and getting it rebuilt and repowder coated or treated, or there's things that I still need to get done. So
I took my axle apart myself, and I thought, oh, I might have a go putting this back as well, but when you see all them cogs in there, and I've never done that before. Do I risk it, or do I get the pros in? That's when the budget decisions come in, isn't it?
This is it. And so, some people are really good at learning from books. I'm kind of more visual. I think, I mean, I have all the manuals and things, but it's like, if I see somebody do it, I can do it. If it's kind of reading it and trying to work out from pictures, sometimes I can grasp it and sometimes not.
I barely looked at them because they're great, but again, to me, that's just what, just deal with all the sandblasting.
I like that, yeah.
I mean, it's handy to have, but I guess these have been replaced a little bit by YouTube over the years, but still handy for reference, and there'll come a point where I need to look. I have, I tell a lie, I have consulted them a little bit, especially with the axles.
Yeah.
But,
I've got the Haynes ones, and I like the Autodata one as well. It's got a beautiful Mark III Cortina 2000D in red on the front. And
well, look at that.
Yeah.
Damp in here.
Yeah.
Nice garage with a heated floor. It's when it's not on or whatever, there's still moisture in this room.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an ongoing battle, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's better to do it in here than it was outside and at the front of the house. So when you had it sitting out there in the winter, I'm thinking, open shell, even if she's covered, it's still getting in there.
Yeah.
So she's going to last longer and be easier to do undercover in here.
Yeah, some of the bits I sprayed out there didn't make it.
No, little bits.
Because it was under a cover, and some people said, well, the car sweats then under the cover, and moisture gets trapped in. But it was just, in the end, I actually took the cover off because I thought, even in Wales, the wind
You've got a lot
blows through it and it dries it. It's not ideal at all, but it seemed the cover didn't seem to actually do much. It was better off.
Yeah, breathes better.
Which is crazy, really, but that's what I learned the hard way.
Yeah, it's like anything though, if standing, they don't do them a lot of good. I mean, my car was great until I left it standing for 12 years in the open, in the mountains, on damp ground. I mean, it literally used to be a river that ran alongside of my house before it was filled in. So when we had the serious downpours of rain, like about a month ago, I was kind of went out there and went, oh my God, and it was about 3 inches deep and just right the way across, 8 foot wide, going straight down the side of the house and then into the road. And I was like, I remember now, it used to be a riverbed, didn't it, this, before it was filled in. So, and
hopefully,
it would have been exposed to a few of them over the years of sitting there while I put the relationship first, which was my massive mistake.
We all do that,
Yeah. So,
always nice to have a second mistress. Your Cortina. Well, these should get better with age, as long as they're taken care of. And well, mine will. It's obviously had a midlife crisis now, and hopefully for the next 40 years, it's going to start looking stunning again, like yours is. Your shell is now ready to rebuild, isn't it?
Yeah.
To reskin or whatever the term is.
Yeah.
Reconstruct.
Yes, refit.
Refit.
Whatever.
Yeah. But
I think it's a true kind of like appreciation of a Mark III in that I come here and I see a car that has got bits cut off of her and has got some little rusty patches on her. And I still look at her and think she's beautiful and I love her. So, it's nice of you to appreciate mine being, fully restored shell and in paint and looking stunning, but I'm looking at yours going, she's beautiful, and I get the same kind of thrill out of seeing this as you do about mine, which is just what I love.
Quite a good time, because until recently it was on the spit, which is now over
that
there.
way.
It's kind of not ideal, but I'm working on the back at the moment.
Yeah.
And it was twisted up, so all you could see was the floor. So the floor's done, finished, treated. It's kind of absolutely pristine, the floor. So now I wanted to do the floor first, just because it's the boring part. It's the murky, horrible,
messy bit, getting all
nasty. Did that first, got it out the way, and now I'm starting on the upper shell. Make my way around the car as I go. So it's a good time to come because you can see it as it is on its axle stand rather than on a spit, which I guess I could have twirled it round for you at the time. I did have some issues with the spit. I didn't have it right at all to start with, and I think one day the whole lock nearly toppled over into that door. It was really out of balance, and I now know the mistake I made. to do with the extension arms not being in the right place. Lesson learned,
Yes.
and once I got it set up right, you could almost spin it on itself. It was very, very,
very easy to turn by one person.
Aid Foreman Light Engineering is the name of the firm that make these in Telford, and he's doing really well. I went there, and he had a small unit. I think he's expanded now because people have seen his work, and a lot of classic car restorers seem to. There was the blue ones. He sprays them all blue. His. I follow him on social media, and he seems to be doing really well.
Good.
So,
Handy to know.
Yeah. At the end of all this, I have a lot of stuff to sell.
Well, unless you might get like me and buy another 1 or 2 or 3 Mark IIIs. I have 3 Mark IIIs tucked away, a Mark III Fiesta, and obviously the classic Micra now. But
Yeah, I mean,
depending.
never say never. I mean, getting it here is a pain. So I'd restore these till my dying days if I could. I mean, it's a good passion. I think there's quite a few Mark III. You're a grandmaster. There's a few grandmasters that I've come across. You being there for sure with your knowledge of the registry, the Registers Club, and I think you know to the exact one, don't you, how many were manufactured and the spec levels of each one, and that knowledge, that encyclopedia of knowledge that you've got is amazing, really. Shows a true passion for it.
Yeah, I've been into them since I was 7 years old, so it's been a lot of years.
And if I walk past the scrapyard and I see a crane about to crush one, I'm going to run in there and scream and say, no, I'll take it, which I think is what Pete C did with Ruby. I think it was that kind of scenario. And who can blame him, It's like, you've got to save every last one out there. And I think yours and is it Helena from the secretary of the club? She got one dug out of a field in Ireland somewhere that was completely, no one else would have looked at it. It was just gone, but she got that out and got it back and got it restored. So there's lots of stories like that, isn't there, of these, Yeah, there's lots of us out there that are crazy, passionate, obsessed, whatever you want to call it, just go, what
with Mark III's going like, oh yeah, they're gorgeous, and they're just,
any of those non-believers at the start, when they see the finished product, they're like, wow, that's a nice car. Well, it's the same car that was that was there before, but it just needed lots. That's how I suppose. Obviously, you've had the ones where it's like, oh, why would you bother? Like I have, but then, like you say, once you go through the process of doing it, and every time everything's done is improving it, you get to the point where it just looks amazing, and you go, well, that's why, because look how beautiful she is now. Well, I should have got a Mini though. I mean,
it would have been quicker, easier to fit in.
Carrying it through the alleyway, this shed is stretched to the limit with this shell, but a little Mini there would have been absolutely much more practical. But it's not a Mark III, is it?
No.
Much as I love Minis, Mark 1 Mini.
Yeah, Mark 1s are nice.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing with me. I like all classic cars. I wouldn't necessarily want to own every single classic car that exists out there, but I will always appreciate them, and I would always go up and look at them, and like what they've done to it, and etc. I think I don't know if it was because I grew up having tons of Matchbox cars and Corgi cars and Dinky cars or what. I mean, it was just as a boy, I just love cars.
And the shape of all of those 1970s, 60s cars, and by the time it got to the late 80s, they all became jelly molds, didn't they?
And then you started to have read badges to see who made it and what it was called.
It's even worse now with electric cars. They can do one.
I'm not interested in modern stuff at all, I must admit. I kind of look at the new things and just think, well, they all look very similar, and they all look like really boring and ugly half the time, and it's like, why would people want to spend all that money owning one of those when they could own something as beautiful as this, or a Mark 1 Escort, or a Ford Capri, or a Granada, or a Morris Minor, or an Austin Allegro, or a Mini, or a Mini Metro, or so many things that are out there, Vivas, Vauxhalls, all sorts of stuff.
Was it like a
individual
in the history of cars? At the very start, you had your Model Ts, and you had all similar shaped cars.
Very much.
The headlamps coming up and the
big running boards and things.
Running boards on the side. So most cars are the same. and then you got into the kind of 30s and 40s where there was still running boards, but they were completely enclosed then. And especially in America, they got bigger.
Yeah.
And the British ones with the dome-shaped kind of Austins and kind of all looked similar-ish.
Sort of, yeah.
But then 60s and 70s is kind of designers got kind of a bit
Interesting.
more creative, and
Yeah.
you know, the aerodynamics hadn't yet come in, and so for the mid 60s up until the early 80s, you had all these kind of funky design cars, quite different from each other, including the Citroens being completely different from each other, from the rest. So I think it was a beautiful time for the kind of, at least the shell shape of cars. You know, and I love them all. I mean, yes, Ford is what we like, but I appreciate a British Leyland or whatever you want to call it, Austins, Rovers, the French cars, the American cars. I love that period. Small cars, big cars. It was great. I wish I could have a whole fleet of them. But
It would be nice, wouldn't it? Nice to be as rich as sort of Jay Leno or something, where you could have a massive warehouse and just pack them full of cars that you think that's beautiful and that's beautiful. And, Rover SD1s, I remember
SD1s,
those. I mean, I think they're stunningly beautiful design. They're really beautiful. But
I mean, don't tell anyone this. Lucky we're not filming.
yeah.
But I even like the Austin Allegro. Austin Princess. That's another. What do they call it? The door wedge or something?
Oh,
The wedge.
Yeah, wedge shape.
Yeah.
The Allegros used to be like a potato on wheels, they used to call it, and it was like, they're cute. There's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
Morris.
I think the Hillman Avenger is a good looking car. You know, with very blurry eyes, when you've just woken up in the morning and you look at an Avenger from a mile away, you might think Mark II Escort. Just about similarity there.
But I think it was a nice time to grow up in, because went out there and I used to look at comma vans and think they were a really nice shaped van because you got that nice rounded front to them.
Yeah, my cousin had a camper van, and used to go away in that. Yeah. I actually bought a British Gas Austin Maestro van I had briefly in the early 90s. Yeah, and I got to say, out of every car I've had, I haven't had a huge amount, but I've had Fords, Volkswagens, Hondas, more Fords, and an Austin. Which one never broke down? Austin Maestro.
Amazing,
Most they had to do to it was blow the tyres up.
Wow.
And of all of them, you'd have
thought that would have been the one that went wrong. According to people on the internet, where they're not very reliable with BL and
the Honda CRX, which was Mark 1, but built in Japan, not in Swindon. So it was designed for Japanese climate, so it rot, the scuttles, everything rotted, the wheel arches, it just couldn't handle the British climate. So I had a lot of work done on that, because it's a lovely car to drive, 2-seater, really, really cool, good engine in it. Volkswagen Polo, German reliability, it was a pig. It used to, or lemon as they called it. Still kept it on the roads. It was fine most of the time, but it had everything went on it. Water pump, alternator, all the stuff that you wouldn't think would go with a Volkswagen.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, like you say, reliable engineering from German cars. Supposedly, what was it, Vorsprung technique on one of their adverts for the Audis?
Yeah, but and my first car was a Ford Fiesta Mark 1 GLG 281X. It's still out there. Bought it when it was already succumbing to the elements. Kind of rust along the bottom, and it had a sunroof, and it even had the side quarter tilting.
Yeah, I remember
off the
those.
stool.
Yeah.
Had them, so it was a bit of a quirky one. I don't know whether it was an L, would it have been, or would it have been a higher model than that? It was a 9. It was a 1 litre.
Yeah, sort of basic entry level kind of engines.
Only had it for a year or so, but again that had its own. It has a few little issues, being quite an old car.
They had the full Popular back, didn't they? The Fiesta Popular or Popular Plus, I think they were badged as, and
my friend
entry level ones.
Good friend. We all had Mark 1 Fiestas as we were 18 years old around here. We weren't quite, kind of high up the scale enough to have the XR2s, the Mark II XR2s. We couldn't afford
Pretty expensive on insurance and
them.
as well.
Just had a basic Mark 1 Fiesta. He had a 1.3 that was nice. LHB 72X was his registration. Why do I not remember these
Weird, isn't
registration
it?
plates?
Yeah, they stay with you.
1992. I can't remember, people's phone numbers or
Yeah.
people's house numbers even around here.
Yeah.
I don't even know my next door neighbour's house number.
Yeah. Weird.
So I can reel that off.
Yeah. See, it shows an in-depth passion for cars.
Yeah, I never got in. Never really studied the internal combustion engine and engine sizes, and my mates used to talk about sports performance, and I just switch off, But since stripping the Pinto out of this and opening the top and getting all the valves out and the head off, and I was like, okay, this is pretty interesting. So it's a Pinto 2 litre. This is a 2000E. Top of the range, apparently.
Yep.